So many lose the fight. Leave the night, find a light. So many lose the fight. Will we try? Well, at least we try. So many lose in life. Wait for long trick goodbye. So many lose the fight. Will we try? Well, at least we try.
Monica, dear heart, just what are you about now? Madam Queen purred from her vanity table. She was surrounded by a handful of girls she was teaching how to apply makeup. Madam had successfully turned her little corner of the center into a studio that would bring everything in Hollywood to shame. At least, in her mind, she had. In reality, her and Stormy were forever arguing over her budget. Madam, with the air of the Queen of the Nile, would ask for 5 golden swans flown in from Paris. Stormy would bring her 5 papier-mâché swans made by the kids in the art department. Madam would demand caviar for her post-show party. Stormy brought cookies and juice boxes. She said Stormy had it in for her. Because, of course, Storm thought the theater department was a waste of time and money. See, Madam, like my Nana, had performed on Broadway in the 30s, although she had a slightly longer career than my Nana. But, like most black performers at the time, she didn't make nearly the money her white counterparts did. When her money ran out, and there was no more work coming her way, she showed up at the center and asked Nana for a job. That was 30 years ago. And honey, if you let Madam tell it, she was responsible for the career of every actor that came out of Chicago since then. Stormy said there was the real world that the rest of us lived in, and then there was that strange thing that went on in Madam's head. And let me tell you, if you ever wanted a good laugh, sit back and watch Stormy and Madam have it out. Most of the times, it's because Madam Queen has gone behind Stormy's back to talk to Shlomo about funding some extravagant for her next stage play production. Stormy now, who was always calm and cool, that's Stormy, she never got worked up. She would just shake her head and say, "No, we can't afford to hire a professional team of stage designers. However, that would be a lovely job for the kids in the art department." Madam was sucking her breath as if Stormy had just called her a vile name. "How can you speak to me this way? I performed on stage with Eartha Kitt and Lena Horne." She would elongate her neck and throw her head back as if she was in fact queen of all us mere mortals. Stormy would just shake her head, so used to the theatrics. "No is not a disrespectful word," she would say. Now by this time, Madam is in full drama queen mode. Keep in mind, when she speaks, she always over-enunciates every word. Without fail, she pops every P and tots every T. It is a disrespectful word if it means no, I can't be all that I can be, and no, my talented young pupils cannot be all that they can be, and no, I must limit myself to rags when I am worthy of riches. Now, she would say all this while waving her arms in the air, causing whatever brilliantly colored garment she was wearing to flutter around her like beautiful clouds. Because everything Madam did was a production. Stormy wouldn't even look up from whatever paperwork she was going over. "Oh, Madam, no one is asking you not to be the very best you can. I'm just telling you, you're gonna have to be the very best you can with the budget we have set for you. She was speaking a sunny tone that I know grated on Madam's nerves. You know, young lady, I helped raise you. How can I forget, Madam? You would think you would have a little more respect for me. This would make Stormy look up with a sympathetic look. Oh, Madam, I have the utmost respect for you, which is why I haven't gotten rid of the theater program altogether. We really could use the money elsewhere. Now, at this point, Madam Queen would throw her head in the air and just as if such a thing was not even conceivable. Who knows what cesspool this neighborhood would become if not for my productions? I chuckled, thinking back over their arguments, as I looked through the costumes in Madam's closet. Her and Stormy's fights were legendary. Now, I don't know if the neighborhood would get any worse than it was right now if not for Madam's productions. But I ain't gonna lie, she did know how to put on a show. I always had her produce our dance recitals. During one of Madam's productions was the only time there is nothing but standing room here at the center. Everybody in the neighborhood came, from thugs to the choir and everybody in between. Although we didn't make much revenue for any of her productions because most people around here couldn't afford to pay more than a few dollars for a ticket. Little girl, I know you heard me speaking to you. She spoke while applying a layer of lipstick on her lips. When she was done, she turned around to look at me. I just need to borrow a few items. That's all, I told her. I can see that. But what could you possibly need in the costume closet? This, I said, holding up a white doctor's coat. She frowned, standing from her table. Okay, ladies, go ahead and put on your makeup. Apply the technique I just showed you. When all the girls were settled down in front of the mirror, she came in the closet with me. And just what do you need that for? She asked, picking up one of my long locks, twirling it between her fingers. I know how the little clever mind of yours works, sweetheart. And you're up to something. I shook my head at her nickname for me. She had been calling me that since I was Eve's age. Well, I need to convince a few people I'm a doctor. That's all. Her eyes brightened. Really? She clapped her hands together. Well, sit down, child, and let Madam Queen do her thing. Okay, now, on a side note, yes, Madam is an older woman. She's just a few years younger than my Nana. But don't get it twisted. She is the wrong one to go to if you want to be talked out of doing something extremely dangerous and foolish. Madam lived for adventure, even in her old age. An hour later, she was looking at me pleased with her work. Now for one last step. She put a name tag on me that read Dr. Mitchell. Okay, let me hear you introduce yourself. She was in full trainer mode now. I cleared my throat. Hi, my name is Dr. Rachel Mitchell. I spoke with all the flair that Madam had taught me. The smile left her face. She smacked at my hand with her fan. No, absolutely not. After an overdone eye roll, she continued. Remember, sweetheart, most doctors have a confidence that only recently came in their adult years. Before that, they were probably very insecure. I should hear that in your tone. Not the confidence of Monica, who has been bold and beautiful her whole life. Again, but this time, convince me. I nodded. She was right, of course. I cleared my throat and tried again. Hi. I used my finger to push my Nana's glasses up further on my nose. My name is Rachel Mitchell. Dr. Rachel Mitchell? Madam's face brightened. She clapped her hands together. Yes, child. Yes. I hugged her and hurried out the center before Stormy caught me. The last thing I needed right now was to run into her. I had looked up the real estate company that owned Caleb's building and put the address in my GPS. I was surprised to see that their office was located downtown. This drug dealer was living a life, while people like my nana and me, upstanding, hard-working people, could barely afford to eat. I smiled as I pulled the Land Rover into the garage that charged $10 for the first 15 minutes before charging $1 each minute. $1 each minute afterwards? Chicago was ridiculous. I wasn't worried though. What I had to do should only take a few minutes. After walking to the busy high-rise, I found the directory. The name of the real estate company was 7th Oasis, and they were located on the 7th floor. Gotcha. As soon as I stepped off the elevator, the receptionist's eyes came to me. She took in my white lab coat and my name tag. "How can I help you?" she asked with a friendly smile on her face. I returned her smile, placing my briefcase on the counter. "Hi." I used my finger to push up my glasses. "My name is Rachel Mitchell. Dr. Rachel Mitchell?" "Hi. How can I help you, doctor?" "I need to speak with whoever is in charge here. I have seriously important information about one of the tenants that live in one of your buildings." My face reflected the gravity of the situation for which I spoke. Her eyes widened before she picked up the phone, pressing a button. "Mr. Jenkins," she spoke of the receiver. "There is a Dr. Rachel Mitchell here to see you, sir. She says she has vital information for you." She nodded her head. "Yes, sir." When she hung up, she smiled at me. "Please have a seat. He will be with you promptly." "Thank you," I told her, before taking a seat in one of the chairs in the beautifully decorated waiting room. I hadn't been sitting a minute before the office door opened and a handsome brother dressed to the nines in a three-piece suit came out the back. "Dr. Mitchell?" he asked, coming to me shaking my hand. I stood. "Yes, sir. I'm from the CDC. I flashed my badge really quick." He blinked several times as his eyes tried without success to read the information on the badge. "I am so sorry to bother you, but if I can have a moment of your time, I think you will want to hear what I have to say." I spoke quickly, taking his mind off the fact that he never really saw the badge. "Of course. Please come into my office." I walked ahead of him into his office. "Please take a seat." He closed the door and took his own seat behind his desk. I eased into the chair he indicated, putting my briefcase down on the floor next to my leg. Then I used my finger to push my glasses back up on my nose. I must admit to being puzzled as to why a doctor from the CDC would be here in my office." I could see the confusion on his face. "I wish my visit could have been under better circumstances. Unfortunately, this is not the case. I've come with rather dire news. We recently received word of a tenant of yours who had just come back from a very long stay in South Africa." The man's eyes widened instantly. "Oh yeah, this is gonna be a breeze." He was supposed to report to the CDC as soon as he landed back here in America. "Why?" he asked, but I could tell from his face he already knew the answer. I pushed my glasses up on my nose and cleared my throat. "Sir, he was being treated there for Ebola." "What?" I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing at the revulsion on this man's face. I nodded. "So you can understand our concern. Everybody that know this man must be warned, especially those that live near him. If he comes into contact with anybody in that building, I'm afraid we may have to quarantine the whole building." He snatched up the phone. "Gloria, I need you in here at once," he demanded. "Who is this person, doctor?" I picked up my briefcase and pulled out a file that I had gotten from Madam Queen's prop closet. Then I pretended to scan over it. A Mr. Jacobs. Yeah, Caleb Jacobs. I told him, looking up for my document. The look of shock that registered on his handsome face was priceless. Mr. Jacobs, he asked, a little over a whisper. Are you sure? I nodded. Now it was time to pound this nail home. I'm sure by living in the penthouse, Caleb was big money for this company. Shame on them for being okay with accepting dope money. So, if you wondered if I felt bad for what I was doing to this poor sap, my answer would be a resounding no. I didn't feel guilty in the least. Trust me, sir, the Center of Disease Control and Prevention does not take things like this lightly. Are you aware of how quickly Ebola can spread around the city of Chicago? In 2 weeks' time, half the population would be hospitalized, fighting for their lives. In a month's time, 2 out of every 3 people will be infected with the disease. I ask you, sir, does this sound like something we would not be sure about? He opened his lips, but he could only stutter. I didn't give him time to gain control of his speech. I don't mean to put you in this situation. I know legally you can't evict a person because they are carrying the Ebola virus, but be warned. You should do something to protect the other tenants of that building. And unfortunately, the only true protection is to get Mr. Jacobs out of that building. I put my files back into my briefcase before coming to my feet. Look, can I speak to you off the record? I asked. He nodded. I'm sure you, being in the real estate business, know how to skirt around the system. If for no other reason but to be a hero, the hundreds of lives that you save will be well worth it. His mouth dropped open again. Goodness, this shouldn't be so easy. I've taken up too much of your time. There are others that must be warned. You have a good day, sir. I turned and walked past Mr. Jenkins' secretary that was standing holding the door open for me. Her face puzzled as she wondered as to the astonished look on her employer's face. I didn't break character until I was sitting inside the Land Rover. Yes! I did a little dance in my seat. Oh man, his look of shock. Oh goodness, I wish I had a camera. Now what you gonna do, Caleb? You finna get evicted from your precious penthouse. Boom! I felt good. No, I felt great. I felt so good that I went to the grocery store on Caleb's dime. Tonight, I was gonna prepare a celebratory feast for me and my 2 girls. I went to the nice grocery store, the one in Oak Park, and I got us some fine cuts of beef. As I walked out, I saw the kids' corner across the street. The kids' corner has some really nice clothes. I had taken Eve there a couple times, but only had enough money to get her a ribbon or a pair of socks. Y'all, as I stood there, that credit card Caleb had given me began to burn my pocket. I mean, it felt like a piece of coal laying in my pocket. It was bad enough I had bought these groceries with his dirty money, right? I shouldn't buy clothes for my daughter with such filthy gain. Yeah, that wasn't right. That wasn't the right thing to do. I put my groceries in the trunk. But then I looked over at the store one more time. You know, I could just go look around a bit. I mean, do a little window shopping. It was a good day. The sun was shining bright. I had just got a bad man evicted from his house. Why not? Yeah, why not? However, an hour later, as I was heading out the store with several bags of items for Eve, I guess I could admit I knew I was lying to myself when I first decided to come window shopping. I did justify spending this nasty money by telling myself that Eve really needed these items. In fact, I justified until my guilt melted away and my good mood had returned. I skipped up the stairs to my house. "Eve, look what Mama got you," I said as I threw open the door. However, I came to a halting stop at the sight of Caleb sitting on my couch with Eve on his lap, talking to my nana. All the bags, and I do mean all of them, fell out of my hands and crashed to the floor. My heart lurched so hard in my chest, it was painful. For a moment, I experienced such a high level of panic that the only thing I could do was stare at the man that was supposed to never know about Eve, holding Eve. I blinked as my mind screamed for me to react, but my body wouldn't move because it was crippled in shock. He turned to look at me with angry eyes, although he had a smile on his handsome face, no doubt for Nana's sake. No, I take that back. He wasn't angry. He was pissed. Eve looked so tiny next to his massive body. "Why the hell are you holding my daughter?" I yelled. Oh my goodness. I was so thrown off. I didn't mean for that to come out that loud, but my emotions were running crazy. My nana's mouth fell open. "Now just wait a minute, young lady. That is no way to talk to a guest." I began shaking my head before she even finished. No, Nana. He ain't no guest," I cried, walking to where he sat on the couch holding Eve, who was playing with his car keys. So trusting she was, sitting in his vicious arms. I had witnessed firsthand what those powerful arms could do. "Give me my daughter, now," I spat, looking down at him, one of his eyebrows raised as he looked up at me with fire in his eyes. Probably angry that I would dare speak to him this way. "Your daughter?" he asked in that deep, low, dangerous voice of his. "My daughter." I reached out and gently took Eve out of his arms. I could see the muscle ticking in his angry cheek. "Monica, why are you acting like that? What has gotten into you, girl?" Nana was getting herself worked up. "Nothing, Nana," I said, trying to calm her down, hugging Eve close. I walked to the other side of the room. Dear Yah, I had never been so scared in my life. "Something has gotten into you. I didn't raise you to treat guests that way. I don't like strangers holding my child, that's all," I spoke to Nana. But I looked at Caleb, who was having a hard time hiding his anger. "And he ain't a guest," I hissed. "If he ain't a guest, then who is he?" It was something in my grandmother's tone that made me look away from Caleb and take her in. The last thing I needed right now was for her to get suspicious and start asking questions. If she knew who Caleb really was and what I had done, she would probably have a heart attack right now. "Nana, calm down. You don't want to work yourself up into a fit." I spoke to her, but I prayed that Caleb had enough sense to pick up what I was throwing out. "Don't worry about me and my fits," she snapped. "I'm trying to figure out what in the world is wrong with you. If this here young man is not a guest, then who the world is he?" Caleb turned to look up at me and blinked innocently. "Yeah, who am I?" I narrowed my eyes at him. "A stranger. That's who he is. And you shouldn't be letting strangers hold Eve," I hissed. It was his turn to narrow his eyes as his ankle bored to the surface again. "Oh, child, he ain't gonna hurt that baby. You know, Monica, I'm extremely disappointed in you. Here this young man is our first potential boarder in almost 2 years, and you're doing the best you can to scare him away." My eyes flew to her. "What do you mean, first potential boarder?" I shifted Eve in my arms so that she was resting on my hip. Nana smiled, folding her hands in her lap, obviously very proud of the information she was getting ready to deliver. "Well, before you came in here going crazy, he was just telling me how he needed a room for a little while. Apparently, his jealous ex-girlfriend went to his apartment management building and lied to them." "What were you saying, sugar? What did she say to him?" she asked. He looked at me. "My jealous ex went to the management company in my building and told them that he paused for just a moment. Of all things, that I had Ebola. He looked at me. Can you believe that? He had the nerve to ask. Psst, jealous my butt. No, I can't say that I do believe you, I said flatly. He nodded. You know, I didn't believe it at first either. But I assure you, such deceit does exist. His angry gaze went from me to Eve. Well, honey, Nana said, drawing his attention back to her. If you still want the room, we sure do have the space. I shook my head. No we don't, Nana. She frowned at me again, trying to give me that look that had intimidated me as a child. Yes, we do. She spaced each word out through tight lips. No, we don't, I responded the same way. She smiled at him and slowly got to her feet. Excuse me, baby. Let me talk to my granddaughter in the kitchen. Her mind, it ain't wired right. Sometimes I have to explain things to her. She's simple. She looked at me and jerked her head toward the kitchen. I looked down at his pleased face, and I couldn't help the sneer that came on mine. Still holding Eve in my arms, I marched into the kitchen after my grandmother. What is wrong with you? You young fool! That man need a place to stay, and we need his money. Nana, we don't need him. He could be a murderer, and you just invited him to stay. She looked at me for a minute and shook her head slowly. Child, this here is a boarding house. We ain't known much about nobody that has ever stayed here. Well, damn, she did have a point. My mind raced for some excuse to give her so that she could just let this drop. I don't like the way he looks, I told her, and I could have kicked myself. That sounded dumb even to me. She chuckled. Well, I find him quite handsome myself. Then she had the nerve to blush. Forget his looks, I hissed. She frowned at me. You the one brought up his looks. I shook my head. Not like that. I meant he looks dangerous. And we don't want dangerous men around Eve. I gently pulled Eve's head on to rest against my shoulder, and I rubbed it for emphasis. That little menace popped her head back up and grinned at Nana, who waved her hand. That man ain't gonna harm that child. You should have seen him when he first noticed her. I thought I saw tears in his eyes. He apologized for the way he acted. Said Eve reminded him of someone. She held her hand to her mouth and brought her face close. I think he may have lost a child, she whispered. I blinked at her. Oh my goodness. I was getting ready to have a nervous breakdown. This was not supposed to be happening. Now, would you stop acting crazy and go out there and be nice so that we can get this money? I shook my head no. I couldn't help it. I was freaking out on the inside. The stress of the situation was about to kill me. Why not? She hissed. I could tell that she was losing all patience with me. Outside of coming clean and telling her everything, I was at a complete loss as to the reason why we should not let him stay here. I exhaled and dropped my head defeated. I can't believe this was happening to me. He was supposed to be too busy trying to find him somewhere else to stay. Not here in my living room. I looked at Eve, who was now grinning at me. I put my head against hers. Mama, you messed up now. I have led a very dangerous man to you, precious heart. You know, Nana spoke looking at me with a very disapproving expression on her face. There ain't a day go by I don't regret letting you stay up under Queen's crazy self as much as you did when you was little. It's her fault you turned out like this, you know. My mouth dropped open. And how did I turn out? She shook her head and turned to walk out the door back into the living room. But before she went through, she turned to look back at me. Full of drama, just like her. Now get out here and be nice to this man so that we can get this little extra cash. She pushed through the door. I leaned against the sink, still holding Eve. How did I even begin to take her back out there? I was so busted, it wasn't even funny. Good thing Nana's eyes wasn't that good and she couldn't see that the child the man had lost was right here in my arms. I inhaled. I considered taking Eve out the back door and just leaving this whole situation. But I couldn't leave Nana here with this maniac. It wasn't nothing for me to do right now but face my trouble. It wasn't no use to hiding out in this kitchen either. After taking a deep breath, I followed Nana through the door. The rent is $125 a week, she was in the middle of telling him. He nodded. Ma'am, since it seems as if I'm inconveniencing you a bit, please allow me to pay $500 a week. It will make me feel much better. My Nana's eyes widened. We don't need your charity, I hissed. Nana's head snapped back towards me. Now, Monica, if this man say paying $500 a week will make him feel better, don't you go adding your feelings to the equation. He's the guest. It's his feelings that matter, Missy. She turned back to Caleb and smiled. Sugar, if paying $500 will make you feel better, then Nana will be more than happy to oblige. I sucked on my teeth. You ain't his Nana. Her name is Miss Naomi to you, I snapped at Caleb. Nana reached over and grabbed his hand. Don't worry none about my granddaughter. Remember I told you, she's simple. You can call me Nana if you want to, she cooed at him. And the bastard had the nerve to look at me and smile before he turned back to her. Thank you, Nana. Thank you for everything. Y'all don't even know how much that grated on my nerves. You're welcome, baby, she gushed, smiling real big at the fraud. Oh my goodness. My grandmother was acting like a 78-year-old gold digger. Monica, go up and prepare the blue room for our new tenant. My eyes flew to her. The blue room? That's right across the hall from my room. I shook my head. That's not going to work. He can have the white room. That way, he was all the way at the end of the hall. Nonsense! The floor is damaged in the white room. Outside of yours and Eve's room, the blue room is in the best shape. I opened my mouth to say something else, but Nana shot me a look that made me snap my lips shut. Bring me Eve and go up and prepare the room, she said, holding her hands out for Eve. I looked over at Caleb as I crossed the room. His angry gaze followed me. I eased Eve into Nana's lap, but before I moved, I looked my grandmother in her eye. I'm going to do this, but can you do me a favor and not let strangers hold my child? I respect my grandmother, always have, but I needed her to know that I was serious. She nodded. Yes, Monica, goodness! I straightened, and without looking at him again, I marched up the stairs. I couldn't believe this. Why in the world would he come here? This place was a dump compared to what he was used to. Word around the hood was he and his brother had been born into luxury. Their father had been in the dope game long before he had even thought about having children. I opened the door to the blue room. At one point in time, it had been a real beauty. Now, like the rest of the house, it was wearing down fast. It was the second biggest room to my room, which would still appear tiny to him. I crossed the room and opened the window to air it out a bit. For a minute, I thought about sabotaging his room, but Yah knows what would happen then. Angrily, I threw the clean sheets on his bed. He could make his own damn bed. What's wrong, Monica? You having a tantrum? 'Cause things ain't turning out like you planned? Did your baby daddy come back from the grave to hunt you? The deep, angry voice came from behind me. I spun around just in time to see Caleb coming through the bedroom door, shutting it behind him.